Intelligent Design ID presents itself as a scientifically backed argument, reinforcing belief in a divine entity through the analysis of life's origins. Advocates of this approach argue that certain characteristics of the universe and living creatures are better explained by a conscious force rather than an unplanned evolutionary process like natural selection. However, ID lacks concrete empirical validation and poses neither testable nor plausible theories, thereby disqualifying it from being recognized as a branch of science. The principal defenders of ID are affiliated with the Discovery Institute, a Christian and politically conservative think tank based in the United States. The term intelligent design was initially used in discussions surrounding the argument from design. However, it gained prominence in its modern context as an alternative for creationism after its inclusion in Of Pandas and People, a high school biology textbook published in 1989. The Supreme Court's 1987 decision in Edwards v. Aguilar, which prohibited the instruction of creation science in public schools based on constitutional grounds, provoked the insertion of the term intelligent design into this text, replacing all mentions of creation science or as creation science or as creationism. Since the mid-1990s, the intelligent design movement, IDMB, backed by the Discovery Institute, has vigorously advocated for the inclusion of intelligent design in public school biology syllabus. This movement's efforts culminated in the infamous 2005 trial Kitzmiller v. Dover Area School District, where the court ruled that intelligent design is fundamentally a religious concept rather than a scientific one. This ruling meant that its promotion in public schools contravened the First Amendment's Establishment Clause in the U.S. Constitution. Two primary arguments take precedence in ID's critique of evolutionary theories: irreducible complexity and specified complexity. These propositions suggest that certain biological and informational traits of organisms are too intricate to have arisen from natural selection alone. Scientific scrutiny, however, has efficiently debunked multiple instances cited as impossibilities by the evolutionary model. In its pursuit to debunk methodological naturalism, a foundational aspect of modern science, ID admits that it has yet to establish a definitive scientific theory. Its main counter-argument towards evolution proposes an analogy, equating natural systems to man-made artifacts, in a modified version of the theological argument from Design for God's Existence. According to ID, the complexity inherent in certain features is indicative of a deliberated design. However, critics find this premise flawed, arguing that disproving evolution does not necessarily validate the hypothesis of intelligent design. Intelligently designed argument and ideas are widely based on the notion of complex design necessitating an intelligent designer, presenting nature as a testament to the existence of an intelligent creator due to its inherent complexity. This concept was outlined by Thomas Aquinas in his Fifth Proof of God's Existence and later explored by William Paley, whose watchmaker analogy suggests that the complicated nature of the world around us must be the result of intentional, intelligent design. In Paley's viewpoint, the diversity, and Paley's viewpoint, the diversity and perfection of these designs suggest an omnipotent designer identified as the Christian God. Intelligent design's origins can be traced back to 1802, when Paley used examples from nature to support his argument. It also closely aligns with creation science and introduces the phenomenon of irreducible complexity. However, attempts to integrate creation science into the school curriculum in the United States were thwarted by court rulings on the grounds of it being religious in nature and therefore unsuitable for inclusion in public school science education. The rationale for intelligent design, while open to metaphysical naturalism and supernaturalism, intentionally refrains from specifically identifying the intelligent designer. However, movement leaders have associated it with the Christian God. This abstention from detailing the identity of the designer has sparked contentious debate among supporters and denigrators of intelligent design about its authenticity, and whether it's simply a tactic to circumvent the separation of religion from science education. This stirring debate was notably encapsulated in the Kitzmiller v. Dover Area School District court case. Intelligent design as a theory itself was conceived in 1984 with Charles B. Thaxton's book, The Mystery of Life's Origin, reassessing current theories subsequently. In 1986, Stephen C. Mayer published a review of this book, positing that information theory could interpret messages transmitted by DNA in cells to be the result of intelligent design. Wilder Smith authored The Creation of Life, a cybernetic approach to evolution. This body of work underpinned Paley's argument for design, leveraging computer calculations to highlight the improbability of genetic sequences formation via evolution and underlining the necessity for divine intelligent activity supporting creation. Wilder, Smith proposed this intelligent design extended to humanity's existence to Dean H. Kenyon. Etchery also defended creation science, attributing the formation of molecular systems to intelligent design and citing Wilder-Smith's work. Richard E. Bliss, a creationist, used the term creative design in multiple works, contrasting creationists' belief in intelligent design with evolutionists' quest for non-intelligent origins of life. The first structured usage of the term intelligent design, presented as distinct from creationism, is found in Of Pandas and People, co-authored by Davis and Kenyon. The term gained prominence following a ruling by the United States Supreme Court in 1987 that teaching of creationism in public school science curricula is unconstitutional. Charles B. Thaxton, drawn to the term through its usage in engineering parlance, adopted it from a NASA scientist. He then revised the language in successive drafts of his book, modifying almost all uses of the word creation to intelligent design, and changing creationists to design proponents or once, humorously, to see design proponents as. In 1988, Thaxton hosted a conference named Sources of Information Content in DNA, where the term intelligent design was floated subsequently. Thaxton decided to label his new movement intelligent design. Of Pandas and People was published in 1989 and marked the beginning of the modern intelligent design movement. It introduced a new set of creationist terminology to challenge evolution without resorting to religious language, with intelligent design being the most prominent among these. The book marked the first instance where the phrase intelligent design was used in its current primary meaning. The co-authors, Joan A. Buell and William A. confirmed this. Biochemist Michael B. Hay introduced the concept of irreducible complexity in his 1996 book, Darwin's Black Box, giving it a full thematic treatment after his initial conception in the 1993 revised edition of Pandas and People. Behe proposes irreducible complexity as a complete system composed of interacting essential parts, which, on removal of any part, the entire system malfunction. Behe provides an illustration of the concept using a mousetrap, illustrating that all its pieces are essential for functionality, thus arguing this principle applies to biological mechanisms, including the bacterial flagellum of E. coli, the blood-clotting cascade, cilia, and the adaptive immune system. The theme becomes controversial as critics question this irreducible complexity, arguing that this system overlooks the evolution of systems that adjust with time. They suggest that elements, initially not vital, can over time become integral to a system's functionality. Behe, however, concedes to using imprecise language and admits that his argument, while compelling, is not strictly logical. Despite this admission and scientific critics, intelligent design proponents continue to leverage the concept of irreducible complexity. It's noteworthy that in the Dover trial, Behe's irreducible complexity claim was discarded by the larger scientific community in favor of peer-reviewed research. Alongside Behe, Charles B. Thaxton first employed the term specified complexity while discussing DNA messages, suggesting an intelligent agent behind their design. Later, William A. Dembski further developed this theme of intelligent design throughout the 90s. Dembski posits that when something exhibits simultaneous complexity and specificity, it implies the influence of intelligent design as opposed to natural processes. He exemplifies this by comparing a single letter, a series of random letters, and a Shakespearean sonnet, arguing that the sonnet's complexity and specificity suggest intelligent design, a principle he believes applies to DNA patterns in biological molecules as well. This theme revolves around the notion that complexity and specificity hint towards intelligent design. Renowned critic of the intelligent design concept, Richard Dawkins, articulates in his book The God Delusions, 2006, that accepting the idea of an intelligent architect as an explanation for intricate designs only defers the issue. These designers would themselves necessitate an equivalent complexity level. Evolution via selection, from the viewpoint of other scientists, is more capable of elucidating the noticed intricacy, as demonstrated in the employment of selective evolution for engineering specific electronic, aeronautical, and automotive systems regarded as overly complex for human designers. Advocates of intelligent design extend their arguments beyond biology, incorporating an argument related to the fine-tuning of universal laws that enable life and matter, which they claim cannot be attributed entirely to chance. This encompasses values of fundamental physical constants, strength ratios of nuclear forces, electromagnetism, and gravity between fundamental particles, as well as the mass ratios of these particles. Guillermo Gonzalez, a proponent of intelligent design and fellow at the Center for Science and Culture, contends that a slightest variation in these values would result in a drastically different universe, thereby inhibiting the formation of certain chemical elements and features. Therefore, advocates argue an intelligent life designer was needed to ensure the necessary features were in place for this specific outcome. Critics, including Victor J. Stenger, respond by declaring that these arguments lack sufficient evidence. They characterize intelligent design and the weak anthropic principles as circular reasoning, essentially arguing that the ability of the universe to support life is because life exists. Critics also challenge the notion of a life-supporting universe's improbability as a failure of imagination, suggesting other forms of life could exist under different conditions. Modern intelligent design proponents frame their discussions in secular language and purposefully avoid mentioning the intelligent agents presumed. While they do not explicitly state that God is the designer, it's implicitly speculated that the intervention involved is divine. Dembski, in his book The Design Inference, 1998, proposes that an alien culture could meet these requirements. Of Pandas and People proposes that CT is an example of an appeal to intelligent design and science. In 2000, philosopher Robert T. Panik brings up the Raelian UFO religion as a real-life example of an extraterrestrial intelligent designer approach that refutes evolutionary theory. However, the fundamental description of intelligent design firmly asserts that the universe displays signs of deliberate design. Coyne refers to the affinity in the plant and animal life between isolated islands and their nearby mainland, despite dissimilar conditions, as proof against the notion that such species were placed there by a designer. This idea was earlier opposed by Behe in his book Darwin's Black Box, where he suggested that the inexplicability of the designer's intentions rendered such debates inconclusive. Behe proposed that the so-called odds designs were intentional acts of the designer for reasons unfathomable to human reason, or even for no identifiable reason at all. Coyne counters by argument, saying that this evidence implies either life stemmed from evolution, not intelligent design, or that the intelligent designer is a cosmic jester, arranging life forms in a way that indicates evolution. Supporters of intelligent design like Paul Nelson sidestep the issue of imperfect designs in nature by contending that our understanding of the proposed design is flawed. Behe, motivated by Paley yet deviating from his presumption of a flawless creation, postulates that designers might not always endeavor to produce the best design. He likens this to a parent who does not spoil a child with luxurious toys and suggests that the designer may also prioritize not just exceptional engineering. Behe adds that the debate calling out imperfections considerably rests on assessing the intentions of an unknown designer, a task virtually impossible unless explicitly explained by the designer. This fixation on unfathomable intentions making intelligent design scientifically unconfirmable. Philip E. Johnson, retired UC Berkeley law professor, author, and intelligent design advocate, argues that the designer creates with a purpose, citing AIDS as a punishment for immorality, not resulting from Hy-Vee as an example. However, he adds, such intentions can't be scientifically evaluated. Insisting on a designer also raises the question, who designed the designer? Supporters of intelligent design find this question irrelevant to their theory. Richard Wayne counters by sustaining that such unforeseen questions are imperative in evaluating an explanation's worth against the understanding it offers. Richard Dawkins sees the notion that the designer needs no explanation as a limiting cliché. He argues that without observable, measurable evidence, the question who designed the designer engages proponents in an endless cycle that can only break by turning to religious creationism or logical contradiction. The proponents of intelligent design argue that scientific inquiry should not be confined to a purely naturalistic perspective, but should also accommodate explanations involving supernatural causes. They seek to challenge the entrenched materialistic worldview represented by evolution theory and replace it with a scientific approach more in line with Christian and theistic beliefs. Prominent figure Philip F. Johnson posits that intelligent design's aim is to present creationism from a scientific viewpoint. The Discovery Institute and its Center for Science and Culture are the key forces behind the intelligent design movement, influencing its strategies and initiatives. Despite presenting intelligent design as a non-religious concept to the wider public, the movement's proponents often assert its biblical roots when addressing Christian audiences. The Institute also explicitly recognizes its Christian evangelical orientation, focusing on engaging influential figures as well as fostering a strong base among Christians. This strategy includes holding seminars designed to strengthen believers' faith with new scientific evidence and expanding the Institute's ideas into the wider cultural context. However, Barbara Forrest, who has extensively researched on the subject, attributes this dual messaging to the Discovery Institute intentionally obscuring its true agenda. She argues that their actions reveal a systematic plan to promote not only the idea of intelligent design, but also the religious worldview that underpins it. Despite framing intelligent design arguments in secular language and deliberately refraining from identifying the designer, the principal advocates of intelligent design are predominantly religious Christians. These advocates, including Stuart Burgess, Philip E. Johnson, William A. Dembski, and Stephen C. Mayer, are evangelical Protestants. Michael Behe is a Roman Catholic. Paul Nelson is a young earth creationist, and Jonathan Wells belongs to the Unification Church. However, there are also non-Christian supporters such as Jewish David Klinghoffer, agnostics Michael Denton and David Berlinski, and Muzaffar Iqbal, a Pakistani-Canadian Muslim. Dembski's work names a god or an alien life force as potential entities behind intelligent design. Notably, in his book Intelligent Design, The Bridge Between Science and Theology, 1999, he defines Christ as essential to all scientific theories, especially in terms of their conceptual integrity. He further affirms the role of intelligent design in people's journey towards Christ, citing the Bible's Gospel of John as its foundation. Barbara Forrest discerns these statements as signs of a primarily religious nature for intelligent design, rather than just a set of scientific notions that happen to align with personal religious beliefs. In her opinion, influential proponents of intelligent design have significant ties to the profoundly conservative Christian Reconstructionism movement. She highlights the connections between Philip E. Johnson, Charles B. Thaxton, Michael Behe, Richard Weikart, Jonathan Wells, Francis J. Beckwith, and leading Christian organizations. However, not all creationist groups align with the intelligent design movement. As per Thomas Dixon's report, a number of religious leaders reject this theory. A 2004 open letter in Wisconsin, underscoring the possible fusion of Christian faith and evolution, has been signed by over 10,000 clergymen across America. Hugh Ross, an advocate of old earth creationism, believes that by rejecting links between intelligent design and biblical Christianity, proponents render the hypothesis vague. In 2002, he declared the insufficiency of a creation model based solely on unidentified design, urging the scientific community to take a more direct stance on origins. Weiland articulated that the main aim of AGE is to recall the Church resourcefully back to its biblical roots, without associating with or advocating against any movement. It is a unanimous agreement amongst the scientific fraternity that intelligent design does not qualify as science, and thus should not be a part of a science curriculum. Esteemed organizations like the U.S. National Academy of Sciences have outrightly stated that concepts like creationism, intelligent design, and others that suggest supernatural intervention in the origin of life or species are not scientifically valid, as they are not amendable to scientific testing. The U.S. National Science Teachers Association and the American Association for the Advancement of Science have categorized it as pseudoscience. Some scientists have further slandered ID movement's tactics, blaming them for fabricating attacks against evolution, propagating misinformation about science, and ostracizing those who preach it. In September 2012, popular science communicator Bill Nye cautioned that the creationist approach is detrimental to scientific knowledge and innovations in the United States. In 2001, the Discovery Institute publicized an ambiguous statement titled "A Scientific Dissent from Darwinism," suggesting that the listed scientists questioning the theory of evolution. This statement became a crucial part of the Institute's campaign to establish intelligent design as scientifically reliable, despite most signatories not being relevant scientists. Following this, scientists launched Project Steve, collecting more petitioners named Steve than the Discovery Institute. Also, a counterstatement, a scientific support for Darwinism, gained similar support for Darwinism, gained similar support. Before the December 2005 verdict in the Keats-Miller v. Dover School District case, some surveys aimed to ascertain the support for intelligent design amongst certain groups. A Harris poll in 2005 suggested 10 of American adults find humans so complex that they must have required an intelligent being's contribution nonetheless. Discovery Institute commissioned Zogby polls. Discovery Institute commissioned Zogby polls indicating more support have been criticized for their methodological shortcomings and leading questions. The intelligent design debate has taken a controversial turn, as claims of discrimination against the proponents have surfaced. This includes the refusal of tenure and harsh criticism on the web. The 2008 documentary by Ben Stein, Expelled, No Intelligence Allowed, brings 5 such cases under scrutiny. The film claims that an alleged scientific conspiracy through the mainstream science community denies voices to academics who argue for evidence of intelligent design in nature or challenge the evidence of evolution. The documentary probes into these claims, revealing other potential explanations for the apparent persecution. It showcases intelligent design as being driven by science rather than religious beliefs, though it lacks a clear explanation of the term on a scientific level. The documentary mainly touches upon the political aspect of the notion of irreducible complexity. Ironically, it paints the scientific theory of evolution as fueling fascism, the Holocaust, atheism, communism, and eugenics. The film Expelled has been utilized in private screenings for legislators as part of the Discovery Institute's campaign for academic freedom bills. However, reviews are limited to churches and Christian groups, with C. Mies Myers, an interviewee from the film, being turned away from a pre-release showing. Academic bodies like the American Association for the Advancement of Science have decried the film as dishonest and divisive propaganda. Pushing religious ideas into public school science classrooms, even the Anti-Defamation League has criticized the film's claim that the theory of evolution influenced the Holocaust. The documentary includes interviews with scientists and academics who claim they were misled into participating due to misrepresentation of the topic and film title. Michael Shermer, a skeptic, recounts his surreal experience of being posed the same question out of context repeatedly. The proponents of ID strive to keep theological discussion at bay, framing intelligent design in scientific terms as a scientific hypothesis. To classify as a scientific theory, it must meet the following criteria: parsimony, utility, testability, and falsifiability, reliance on multiple observations, and being amendable and dynamic. Advocates of intelligent design assert that naturalistic theories can't fully elucidate certain occurrences, and that supernatural explanations offer a straightforward and comprehensible interpretation of life and the universe's genesis. Many supporters of intelligent design posit that scientism is a religion in its own right, advocating secularism and materialism with the intent of obliterating theism from public life. They see their promotion of intelligent design as a means to reinstate religion's prominence in education and other public domains. It is contended that methodological naturalism isn't a presupposition of science, but an outcome of well-executed science. Explaining phenomena through God is the least parsimonious, making it unscientific according to Occam's razor. The infringement of scientific discourse procedures and the failure to present work to the scientific community able to endure scrutiny have led to intelligent design not being recognized as reputable science. The intelligent design movement hasn't published a rigorously peer-reviewed article supporting their theory in a scientific journal and has failed to publish supporting peer-reviewed research or data. Any article published in a peer-reviewed scientific journal arguing the case for intelligent design was swiftly withdrawn by the publisher due to bypassing the journal's peer review standards. The Discovery Institute maintains that various intelligent design articles have been published in peer-reviewed journals. However, critics, predominantly from the scientific community, dismiss this assertion and argue that intelligent design proponents have created their own biased and lenient peer-reviewed journals, exclusively comprising supporters of intelligent design. Additional critique arises from the fact that the term intelligent design assumes the quality of a discernible intelligence, a concept that lacks scientific consensus. Characteristics of intelligence are presupposed by intelligent design proponents without stipulating what the criteria for measuring intelligence should be. Critics suggest that the design detection methods suggested by intelligent design advocates differ significantly from conventional design detection, thereby eroding the core factors that qualify it as valid science. As per critics, proponents of intelligent design propose to search for a designer without knowledge about the designer's capabilities, limitations, or intentions. in contrast to scientists who possess this knowledge when examining the results of human intelligence, while simultaneously refuting the distinction between natural artificial design that permits scientists to juxtapose complex designed artifacts with the type of complexity found in nature. To a significant segment of the U.S. public, the primary concern revolves around the compatibility of traditional evolutionary biology with belief in God and the Bible, and the manner in which this issue is imparted in schools. The Discovery Institute's Teach the Controversy campaign vouches for intelligent design while seeking to discredit evolution in U.S. public high schools' science courses. In response, the scientific community and science education organizations have retorted that there is no scientific controversy regarding evolution's validity and that the controversy solely pertains to religion and politics. The central argument in the discussion of intelligent design is the issue of logical fallacy, where lack of evidence for one point of view incorrectly battles the verity of a contrasting perspective. Scott and Branch signify the faults in intelligent design, arguing that its conclusion is based on gaps in our knowledge instead of concrete reasoning. They argue that just because we don't have a comprehensive natural explanation for certain aspects of evolution, it doesn't mean we should consider an intelligent cause. Most scientists, they say, advocate for open-mindedness, suggesting that the answer may not be immediately clear or explained. Thus, we don't know yet trumps the need for an external cause. In particular, they challenge Michael Behe's demand for detailed explanations of molecular systems' historical evolution, arguing that Behe's approach encourages artificial binaries, exaggerating the competition between evolution and design. They maintain that intelligent design's so-called contributions have not resulted in significant scientific research. Drawing from earlier events, the Kitzmiller trial's conclusion, as formulated by Judge John E. Jones, III, emphasized that intelligent design's pedestal is built on a false dichotomy. In his view, the discrediting of evolutionary theory doesn't necessarily attest to intelligent design's validity. The argument mirrors that of the creation science discourse at the McLean v. Arkansas trial in 1982. Intelligent design fails to present solid scientific arguments favoring its standing. Instead, it negates evolution theories without room for further scientific explanations, as observed in several cases deemed as irreducible complexity. While proponents of intelligent design argue that their stance lacks a religious foundation, various philosophical and theological debates naturally arise from it. Advocates of intelligent design strive to scientifically prove that aspects such as irreducible complexity and specified complexity are inexplicable through natural processes and require divine intervention. They object to the possibility of a designer setting a sequence of events into motion merely through establishing natural laws. Unlike theistic evolution, even Charles Darwin was open to this. The critical factor distinguishing intelligent design is its insistence on recurring divine interventions in addition to preordained laws, a notion in disagreement with other major religious traditions' understanding of God's role and influence. The Vatican Observatory's director, Jesuit astronomer George Coyne, advocated acceptance of evolution from a theological perspective in a 2005 article in The Tablet. He insisted that intelligent design is not science, even though it masquerades as such if it needs to be taught in schools. It should be covered in religion or cultural history lessons, not science classes. He later denounced intelligent design as a crude variant of creationism that trivializes God's role. The narrative known as intelligent design has been criticized to be a device used for promoting a theocratic state, and it's been classified as a god of the gaps argument. This argument uses gaps in our current scientific understanding as evidence for God's existence, or for a supposed intelligent designer. It's essentially a theological version of an argument from ignorance, providing unverifiable, often supernatural, explanations instead of investigating further. Historians argue that, despite its ingenuity, the astronomy of early civilizations lacks scientific progress due to their failure to investigate the mechanisms behind celestial movements, leading to scientifically irrelevant results. The Greeks were the first to attempt to understand nature systematically, without appealing to divine intervention, which effectively created the foundation of science that discourages reliance on an intelligent creator due to its potential hindrance to scientific progress. An example of the controversy of this narrative came in the Kitzmiller v. Dover Area School District case. This case was the first direct challenge in the U.S. federal courts against a school district policy which aimed to present intelligent design as an alternative to evolution in the curriculum. The plaintiffs, represented by the ACLU, OWL, and Pepper Hamilton ELP, with the National Center for Science Education as consultants, successfully argued that intelligent design was a form of creationism. As such, the school board policy violated the First Amendment's Establishment Clause. The case saw expert witnesses like Kenneth R. Miller, Kevin Padian, Brian Alters, Robert T. Pennick, Barbara Forrest, and John F. Haught support the plaintiffs, while Michael Behe, Steve Fuller, and Scott Minich testified for the defense. Proponents of intelligent design, ID, have avoided scientific analyses that are predetermined to fall short of their conviction, preferring to teach the controversy as a subject matter in science education rather than it itself. This method can be perceived as cunning at the least and a deception at worst. The intended outcome of the intelligent design movement, IDEAM, is not to foster critical thinking, but rather to instigate a change that would replace the theory of evolution with ID. Judge Jones expected critique of his judgment, stating in his verdict that critics may misconstrue it as an activist judge's output. But according to him, this isn't an activist court. What brought this case was the influence of a misinformed group within a school board, supported by a national law firm keen on founding a constitutional test case on ID. Together, they led to the formation of a reckless and ultimately unconstitutional school board policy. The astounding foolishness of the board's decision could be clearly seen when weighed against the factual evidence revealed through the trial. According to Judge Jones, the students, teachers, and parents of Dover Area School District truly deserve better than having to face this storm of a legal case, which completely wasted their financial and personal resources. As predicated by Judge Jones, John G. West, Center for Science and Culture's Associate Director, criticized that the Dover verdict was a plan by an overzealous federal judge to suppress a scientific concept and even bar any critique of Darwinian evolution. Newspaper reports revealed Judge Jones as a Republican and frequent churchgoer. The decision has been dissected in hopes of spotting errors and drawing conclusions, especially by supporters of ID looking to avoid future courtroom losses. 3 articles were published on the winter 2007 issue of the Montana Law Review. One of them, by the Discovery Institute's David K. DeWolf, John G. West, and Casey Luskin, insisted that it is a scientifically valid theory. They also argue that Kitzmiller's decision will have no impact on intelligent design's future. Fear from similar litigation has led other school boards to abandon TEACH, the controversy proposals around intelligent design. In April 2010, the American Academy of Religion unveiled a set of guidelines for teaching about religion in K-12 public schools in the U.S. These instructed that concepts such as creation science or intelligent design should not be taught within science classes as they fell outside the bounds of scientific inquiry. These worldviews, and others like them, were deemed more suited to literature or social science courses, where a diversity of viewpoints could be explored. In June 2007, the Council of Europe's Committee on Culture, Science and Education issued a report highlighting the risks of teaching creationism in schools. The report labeled creationism as anti-science and involving blatant scientific fraud and intellectual deception that blurred the boundaries of science. It linked these forms of creationism to denialism. In October 2007, the Council of Europe's Parliamentary Assembly approved a resolution that schools should resist the introduction of creationist ideas in any subject other than religion. They described intelligent design as the newest and more subtle version of creationism. The resolution emphasized that the purpose of the report was not to challenge or combat belief, but to caution against the trend of passing off belief as science. In the UK, where religious education is a part of public education, the Department for Education and Skills clarified that neither creationism nor intelligent design were taught as subjects in schools and were not specified in the science curriculum. They confirmed that intelligent design is not a recognized scientific theory and is therefore not included in the science curriculum. However, they did not rule out the exploration of these concepts within religious education in the context of discussing various beliefs. In 2006, the Qualifications and Curriculum Authority released a religious education model unit, where students could learn about religious and non-religious beliefs. The narrative centers around the global debate on evolution versus intelligent design, providing a snapshot of how this issue is handled in various educational platforms and government establishments across different countries. The focal point is the British Centre for Science Education, which carries out activities aimed at combating the teaching of creationism in the UK. Simultaneously, Northern Ireland's Education Department maintains space for alternative theories within the curriculum. while the Democratic Unionist Party, associated with fundamentalist Christianity, advocates for intelligent design to be taught in science classes. The story examines former MP David Simpson's stance, who seeks reassurances that students who ascribe to creationism in science exams will not be penalized. The narrative extends to the Netherlands, where plans by the education minister to stir an academic debate on the contentious subject backfired, leading to a public backlash. The situation prompted a response from the Belgian VSCO Director General, who reiterated the acceptance of the theory of evolution by Catholic scientists and dismissed intelligent design and creationism as non-entities in Flemish Catholic schools. In Australia, a similar scenario is depicted, with the education minister backtracking his suggestion of teaching intelligent design in science classes following public anger. Nevertheless, the Australian Campus Crusade for Christ continues to circulate material endorsing intelligent design among secondary schools. The plot concludes with a Pakistani-Canadian Muslim intellectual's endorsement of a petition challenging Darwinism put forth by the Discovery Institute. Aspects of intelligent design find acceptance in Muslim circles, with various intelligent design books being translated in Turkish and public forums being organized to promote the ideology.